Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of One Clue Short of a Treasure. I'm taking part 3 of this video. I've been having some technical difficulties with my laptop, so hopefully everything will work now. So anyway, this is going to be part 2 to the Appalachian Footpath Trail box. Excuse me. I wanted to go over this chapter a little bit. Because I stumbled upon multiple clues to a potential boots on the ground coming up here in July, right? So I know it's probably not a popular idea where it's at because it doesn't align with the popular Vermont location. So sorry, Froggy from Estes Quest. You did a great video on those two. But I just don't think it's there. I could be wrong, but it was hard for me to come up with that because it just looks so right with the way the trail lines up with the map, right? So I did some more deep diving into this and really focus more on the text of the chapter. So I'm going to cover really what the items I found in the text and something that may or may not come off as telling that the trail isn't something to really focus on. Instead, other pieces in this short chapter. So let's get into the text of the chapter. As you saw in my last video, we covered the quote in the beginning. We won't get into that, but I think there's really important items in this chapter that stands out that could really point us to where we should be looking for this box. So he starts off, explains that the Appalachian Trail covers 14 states. And it also covers 2,200 miles of public land. And there's over 450,000 foot of elevation changes on that trail. So if you were to start in the beginning and go all the way to the end, you would have 450,000 feet of elevation change. Then he says starts off at Springer Mountain, Georgia. The trail description goes on to read as beautiful, romantic, and magical. Then he says the word bald hills. Then he goes on to Blue Mountains. Then he goes on to describe a mossy jungle-like forest. Then he goes on to rugged landscape with white mountains. Then he specifically calls out Blue Ridge Mountain near Asheville, North Carolina. He talks about soft pressed ground and smells of dogwood, rhododendron, and mountain laurel, which I have to tell myself here. I didn't know what mountain laurel was. I'm from the Midwest, right? So, it's a close relative of rhododendrons and azaleas. So, in case you didn't know either. He goes on to describe the sounds that he heard. He was surrounded by ambient sounds of slight breeze, scurrying squirrels, birds, crickets, and cicadas rubbing their wings. He says quiet joy, a magical place to leave the treasure. Then he goes on to describe the box, which again I think is one of the most beautiful boxes out of all of these, as steel, carbon steel, stainless steel, brass, blue steel, blue color, rich hue, stunning, and it's both a combination lock and puzzle box. And then he goes on to say something which really caught my attention. He said he left exact instructions for opening the box. Now, if you recall in other chapters, he has mentioned, not in all though, that he has left instructions on other boxes, but he never says exact instructions. So that really stood out to me. Not sure what to do with that yet, but it's something worth looking into deeper. He goes on to say most featured items in the treasure from the main chapter than any other box. And if you notice in the chapter, he doesn't show any treasures that are in there. So that caught my attention as well. Previous chapters, he said he gave you a poem, fictional story, and a few games. Then he goes, this chapter comes full circle where the book begins, which is the treasure map. So here's a really important part, which led me to believe that the LRP Trail in Vermont isn't the place, or we shouldn't be specifically looking at that. Because in the beginning, or in the end, I should say, he says, do not judge it too harshly. Possibly alluding to the path not being accurate. Maybe that's a way of throwing you off. Again, this is just my opinion on this. But he says it's the first map he's ever created. So he says, don't judge it too harshly. And then he goes on to say, should I have made the path to this treasure location less obvious? So that's the path on the map, right? Pointing out that should I made it less obvious could be saying, it could be trying to throw you off a little bit. Why else would he say it if it goes without saying, right? Then he goes on to say, all you have to do is follow the map. He doesn't say all you have to do is follow the path of the trail on the map, but he says all you have to do is follow the map, which leads me to believe there's more to that map than that trail, and possibly not to follow that trail. Again, it's just my thoughts on it. But it means enough to me that I'm going to go out to the state which I think it's in next month, and we will video it. It will all of the boots on the ground will be uploaded, and from there I'll reveal my full solve if I didn't find it. So, again, I could be wrong on it. I hope I'm not wrong, but I could be wrong. But in the coming videos, since I feel so strongly about this chapter now, I'm going to shift focus and dig deeper, and we'll do multiple shorter videos on the items that I come up with, because I'm not quite 100% sure where my location is until I start putting more pieces of the chapter to the solve and possibly some other pictures. I've already found 3 or 4 spots on the map that correlate with my spot where the trail's at. So I'll take you up to the edge. I don't want to give away all of it before I at least have one shot of looking at it myself, but I promise I will share it. And I think it's going to be exciting. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope you stay tuned, and when you subscribe, hit that notification, because you never know when I'll drop another video on it as I find more out. I'm super excited about this, and I hope you are too. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.